Uh, Start off with some shootings. We had a couple of shootings that happened over the weekend. First one was Friday afternoon. This was about, I'm not sure exactly what time it took place, maybe about 3 o'clock. We were called around 4 o'clock to a hospital. We had a guy that showed up with several gunshot wounds. The doctors, they weren't able to determine if it was 3 or 4 times he had been shot, but some pretty significant wounds. He was obviously given the medical treatment. He's still in the hospital. It's described as serious but non-life-threatening injuries, so he's still there, still seems to be doing okay. So this one, it took a while, but eventually we were able to figure out this happened outside a home in the 500 block of South Blaine Avenue. The two people, our victim and then our suspect, know each other. At this point, we're not really sure what the dispute was over, but the suspect ended up pulling out a gun and shot the victim and then left. So we know who the suspect is. He has not been arrested for this yet. No reason to think there was any danger to anybody. It was just a dispute between these two guys. So I don't have really much more than that. We're hoping that we'll be able to get an arrest warrant on the suspect shortly.
You know where he was shot at? No.
It was kind of the torso, and he ended up having like a broken leg and a hip, and some internal organs were struck. So I'm not sure like the path of the bullets, if he was struck in the leg or if he was hit in the torso and then it went down to his leg. So kind of that torso leg area, upper leg area.
Do you have an age at all?
Of the victim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said they weren't life-threatening, but
Correct. Yeah, they're serious but non-life-threatening injuries. The victim is 48 from Sioux Falls.
At 3 p.m. or 3 a.m.?
PM. Yeah, it was Friday afternoon.
Do you have an age on the suspect at all, or no?
I'm going to hold off on that. I mean, we're pretty confident we know who he is, but we're going to keep the age, I guess, just given the investigation. What's that?
Is there any danger to the public?
No, I don't think there's any danger to the public. It was just a dispute between these two guys. And the other shooting, that one was Sunday. This was another afternoon one, Sunday afternoon. We got called about 4:30 to the hospital. We had a 13-year-old girl that had a gunshot wound to her leg. Once we kind of pieced everything together, and it took a little bit of time to do that, but she was in a car with 4 other people. So we had a bunch of teenagers, 5 teenagers in the car. One of them was made arrangements to sell something. We're not sure exactly what, and so they drove to the area. It was on Fierro Place near 30th Street North, or 30th Place North. They met this person, the suspect, who was trying to buy something, and then the suspect ended up pulling out a gun and fired the gun, and the girl was struck by the bullet. Doesn't sound like she was like an intended victim of that. The wound was, it was to her upper leg. I guess that's probably good enough for a description with that. So this one, we don't have a whole lot of information either. We've been trying to track down the other people in the car. We've been able to identify most of the other people. I think there's 1 or 2 people that are still looking for. The suspect, we don't have a whole lot of information on that person, but we're still working a few different angles and investigating this. So
So the 5 got out. She was one of the 5 in that car.
they were all in the car. Yeah, nobody actually got out of the car.
Okay.
The suspect came walking up to the car. There was some short conversation. He pulled out the gun and then ended up firing the gun. After she was struck, then the car left, and they dropped a few people off, and eventually she made it to the hospital, and we were called.
As the suspect walked up to the car, something happened, and he shot her. She
Yep.
was sitting inside the car.
Yeah, she was inside the, yep, the suspect walked up to the car when the shooting.
Do you know, was it just like one shot taken?
Just one shot, yeah. The one time he fired and she was struck, that's just the one time. Nobody else was injured, no other gunshots.
You said that was your old place?
Yeah, yeah, it's 30th Place North and Fierro Place.
And then did you say the injuries were serious but non-threatening?
Yeah, that was, I think she was kept in the hospital basically for observation, but didn't seem to be, it's a non-life-threatening injury.
What day did that happen again?
This was Sunday afternoon.
Do you have a time?
No, before 4:30. I don't know. Let me see here. I don't know if they're exactly sure in the time frame, so maybe around 4 p.m., somewhere in that. But it was reported soon after the gunshot happened.
You said you don't have any detail on the suspect yet?
No, we're still working on the suspect. Well, obviously, we've got the information from the people that we talked to, so we're still working on trying to figure out who the suspect is. So there's still a lot more work on that case to do.
You get a lot of cases like that where it involves juveniles, kind of that young.
13 is pretty young. I don't know. Like I said, I don't think she was the intended target in this. I think she just happened to be struck basically because she was there. Probably just bad luck on that part. But yeah, I mean, 13, 14, that's pretty young for people to be involved in shootings. We've seen that before, and obviously last year we saw quite a few different shootings that involved juveniles. Those are usually older, 16, 17, but we've seen it before. You know, and the suspect, we don't have an age yet on the suspect, so I don't know what else there is to say about that. The other aggravated assaults, one of them was a guy that was struck by a car. He didn't have any injuries, no arrests on that. And then the last one was a domestic, had boyfriend, girlfriend was threatened with a knife, no injuries there. The arson, that was at a laundromat. Somebody threw an aerosol can in a dryer and then that caused a fire. Doesn't sound like there was a whole lot of damage. No suspects on that. They do have surveillance camera, but the owner hasn't been able to get the video yet, so we're still waiting on that. The two assaults were domestics. The burglary is really nothing big, a few garages and homes that were entered, but no arrests. The disorderlies, most of those are trespassings. We did some other reports in there, but nothing big. The embezzlement was a car that was loaned out. The family disputes and offenses were all reports. Frauds were credit cards and ID thefts. Larcenies and narcotics I didn't have a chance to get to. I didn't hear of anything big on those. The rape and sex offenses, those are all reports. We did have a couple of sex offenders that didn't change their address, but simple assaults, heard some more domestics. Nothing suspicious from the unattended deaths. And the vandalisms, cars, quite a few cars that were damaged, a couple of houses that were damaged. And the weapons violation, that was at an apartment. Somebody fired a gun. The bullet struck a water pipe, which caused a leak inside there. So we haven't figured out who the person was that fired the gun. Didn't hear any reports of any other injuries. Just the damage, the water damage basically was the main thing. So we know where the bullet came from. We just haven't located the people yet. And that's it, unless you guys have anything.
Is there any updates on homicide investigation?
No, nothing. Yeah, nothing new with the homicides yet.
No video evidence, photos released, nothing?
Nope.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, thanks.